All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about a skill today that's, well, it's not just a nice to have anymore, it's pretty much a must have for any leader who wants to be great, not just good. I'm talking about emotional intelligence.
So let's start with a little thought experiment. I want you to picture the best boss you've ever had. Got him in your head? Okay, now picture the worst. What's the real difference? I bet it wasn't about how good they were with spreadsheets or their project plans, right? Okay, now let's flip that around and point the mirror at ourselves. What about you? The people you lead, your team, do you bring out the absolute best in them? Or maybe the worst? It's a tough question, but it's the question, isn't it? Because that's how you measure a leader's real impact.
You know, the great Maya Angelou just hit the nail on the head with this. People forget what you said, what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel. Your real legacy as a leader, it's not in the reports you file. It's in that feeling you leave behind. And that right there is why emotional intelligence is such a game changer.
Look, we all know you can't just flip a switch and turn off your emotions when you walk into the office. It just doesn't work that way. These feelings, they're not just fluff. They are the engine driving everything. They drive our engagement, how we handle stress, and whether we actually trust each other enough to get real work done together. So we get it. It's a big deal. But what is emotional intelligence, really? Let's break it down and decode what this actually means. Okay, so this is the textbook definition, made famous by the psychologist Daniel Goleman. But here's the most important word on this slide: capacity. That means it's not something you're just born with, like your height or eye color. It's a skill, a muscle. You can work on it, you can get better at it, and that means anyone can. And if you want to get a little nerdy for a second, there's some really cool brain science here. Think of it like this. You've got two parts of your brain in a constant tug of war. You have your instinctual brain, the amygdala, which is kind of like your internal panic button. It just screams, react! Then you have your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is like the calm, cool CEO saying, hold on, let's think about this for a second. Emotional intelligence, it's all about building a better, stronger hotline between that CEO and the panic button, so the CEO is in charge more often than not. So how do you actually build this skill? Well, it rests on these 4 pillars. Think of it like building a house. The foundation, the absolute must-have starting point, is self-awareness. You just can't manage your emotions if you don't even know what they are. Once you've got that solid foundation, then you can build the walls, self-management. Then comes the roof, social awareness. And finally, you get to furnish the place with relationship management. It really has to happen in that order. And if you're wondering just how important that foundation, that self-awareness piece is, just look at this number: 83%. 83% of the absolute top performers at work are highly self-aware, and the bottom performers, a measly 2%. That is not a coincidence. That's a direct connection. If you don't know what's going on inside you, there's no way you can lead effectively on the outside. It's really that simple.
Okay, so you're sold. Self-awareness is key. But how do you, get it? Let's get practical. Here are a few things you can start doing, like today.
All right, 3 pretty simple strategies. Number 1, know your triggers. We all have them, right? That one person's email, that specific tone of voice. Just make a list. Seriously, writing them down takes away so much of their power. Number 2, ask why. So when you feel that flash of anger or frustration, just pause for a second and ask yourself, why am I really feeling this? And then ask it again. Dig a little deeper. And finally, number 3, check in with your values. Is how you're acting lining up with the person and the leader you say you want to be? That's a really powerful gut check. And this is the whole point. This is the payoff. Self-awareness gives you that tiny but critical moment of pause. It creates a space between the trigger, that lightning bolt, and your behavior. And in that little space, that's where you get to choose. You get to shift from just reacting on autopilot to responding with purpose. That's leadership right there.
Okay, so that's what it looks like for you, the individual. But what happens when a whole team, or even an entire company, gets on board with this? Let's check out a real-world example. So, this story comes from a nonprofit service organization in Ohio. It's not some giant corporation, just a smaller team, fewer than 50 people. And they were going through a ton of change and realized, hey, we need to get better at leading our people through all this.
Now here's what they were up against. Maybe some of this sounds familiar to you. Their leaders were struggling to navigate all the change. You had different managers handling conflict and feedback in totally different ways. Trust and engagement between teams were low, and to top it off, there was basically no formal training to help anyone out. It's a classic recipe for trouble.
So what did they do? They created a custom leadership development series. But look at what they put right at the heart of it:
Yeah, leading through change and team building were there, but the centerpiece, the absolute core, was emotional intelligence. It wasn't an afterthought. They knew it was the foundation for everything else.
And did it work? You bet! The leaders themselves said they felt more self-aware. Their teams started feeling more optimistic about the future. And critically, they created a common language. Suddenly, everyone was on the same page about how to talk about tough issues, which is the bedrock for building trust and improving performance across the whole organization.
So that brings it all back to you. After hearing all of this, my question for you is pretty simple. What's one small thing, just one, you can do this week to build a little more trust and lead with just a bit more awareness? Because that's where the real leader's edge begins.